right, everyone. Well, welcome to today's safety meeting. It's nice to have you all here with us today. We've got a lot of topics to talk about, so please forgive me if I talk kind of fast. We've got a lot of stuff to go over. Really excited about a couple of things. Usually I mention something about our CSA scores as we go through the meetings, and usually it's good news, and today we really have some really awesome news. Over the years, one of the worst problems Pride has had in our CSA score has been our driver fitness score. And the whole point of CSA is to take the worst score and say, okay, this is our worst problem, let's go ahead and work on that, and we did. As of our last update, our score in driver fitness is a big fat 0, which means we have knocked it down to nothing. So between the drivers paying more attention to their driver's licenses, being proactive with taking care of issues, and of course with the safety department, JC and Don have done an awesome job of reminding drivers and helping to keep them aware of when things were coming up that might affect their license. So between the work that the drivers put into their end and the safety department put into their end, we have knocked that down to a 0. So we're really excited about that. Some of our other scores that are really looking good: unsafe driving down at a 10, so that's awesome. Hours of service compliance right now is our worst score, and it's still only at a 30. It's our worst score, and it's a 30. So really great there. So vehicle maintenance, running at a 22. We're kind of stuck on that 22, just cracking along there. But if we do really good throughout the month of December, that will come down from that 22 to probably a 20. We're really looking forward to see those scores come in. The crash indicator, it's up to a 16. We had a few unfortunate things happen, but still 16. We're still doing awesome. So across the board, we are doing great. Some other numbers that might interest people are, in 2014, we experienced 690 vehicle inspections across the fleet. In 2015, we experienced 605. And every time we experience an inspection, that's time that a driver spends roadside being inspected. Most of the time you end up being a little nervous about whatever's going on and stuff. Even if you're a fantastic inspector, there's that thing of I'm being checked out. So all of those inspections, year to date this year, because of the scores that we've managed to maintain, we have only had 478 inspections, which means our drivers' time roadside being inspected by DOT is down 30% from last year, or roughly 30% from the year before, about 20% from the year before that. I haven't actually run the numbers, I'm just doing that in my head, so those of you who do math are welcome to tell me the exact. So 690 inspections in 2014, 605 in 2015, and so far year to date, only 478 inspections for Pride Transport. So our time roadside is down significantly. 0.009% of loads experience an inspection. So very good, and so all of our efforts with inspecting our vehicles, making sure that when we do experience an inspection, that we're coming out with clean inspections, that we are not exceeding the speed limit, so we're not experiencing those speeding tickets, which is one of the major unsafe operation tickets that would account for the unsafe score to go up. So the lower we keep every one of these scores, the less that they're going to want to see us for inspections. And during each inspection, the more of those inspections we do have that are clean, just keeps us on that downward spiral for the numbers, and we want to be at 0. So keep up the good work, inspect, come in, take the classes that we hold on chaining, so that we're operating safely when we're on chains this winter. We're going to be trying to offer a lot more classes on inspections, inspection techniques, things that we can do to improve our driving and maintenance throughout the year. So really, we're on a good pathway for 2017. Some other things that we could look at is we really did have a goal to be under 4 accidents preventable accidents per million miles, and we're at a 4.19. So we're a little bit above where we wanted to be as a company, but still it's lower than most companies are experiencing at this time. And so we're doing great. We just need to keep up the good work. So how do we keep our accidents per million miles down, preventable accident per million miles down? Well, the answer to that is defensive driving. Defensive driving. So we teach Smith System, and every one of you here has had the class. I recognize every one of you. Every one of you's gone through Smith System at one point or the other, and you need to be applying that. Those of us who apply that Smith System, those Smith System techniques to our driving behavior, that just keeps us out of accidents. It keeps us out of preventable accidents and non-preventable accidents, bringing down the whole range of things. When we're driving defensively, when we are keeping our eyes out there, we have got high aim steering. So key number one, aim high in steering. We're doing that. We're looking 15 to 30 seconds into our driving environment, giving ourselves enough time to process information, recognizing when we don't have good eye lead. So as we crest a hill or we come around a corner or we're taking an off-ramp and the off-ramp dives under a bridge or something and we lose eye lead. When those things happen and we recognize them and we prepare for the potential of an incident, then we're avoiding things we didn't even know we were avoiding sometimes by simply having that eye lead and then recognizing those times when we don't have it and considering that a hazardous situation rather than ignoring it. Key number two, get the big picture. We're looking around ourselves, we're processing what's happening, environmental things that are going on. One thing that might be dangerous in one environment is a non-concern in another. So are we recognizing what's relevant to our driving environment? Well, predominantly, given the scores that we're looking at here, yes. Yes, we're doing a good job at that. Key number three, keeping our eyes moving. A big part of driving long haul is those times when there's not a lot going on and we tend to allow ourselves to stare. So we need to be on top of key number three, making sure our eyes are moving. Nobody ever passes me that I did not know was coming. As long as we're keeping our eye motion up to that kind of a standard when we're on those big long open stretches, then we're not zoning. When we zone, we might miss the fact that there's a piece of rubber in the road ahead of us, and we can, if we see it in time, we can move over. But if we're zoning, we don't see it in time, we might hit that rubber and have damage to our equipment. So by keeping our eyes moving, we're keeping ourselves more aware of our environments, and we're potentially avoiding collisions that otherwise we wouldn't have the opportunity to avoid. Also in cities and towns, we are keeping more up to speed with what's going on at intersections and therefore avoiding some of those collisions that could be happening to us there. Key number four, keeping space around our vehicle, recognizing those packs of traffic and staying out of those, especially in the wintertime when we're getting those slow-moving vehicles. Getting involved in a cluster of vehicles on those snowy roads, it is so not safe. So as we recognize those clusters and we don't let ourselves be pressed by, oh, I got to get there, and letting ourselves run with the pack. Back off and take the space, make sure we have that space around our vehicle. Somebody goes to pass us and it even looks like they're thinking about cutting us off and the road's slippery. Just easing off the accelerator and making that so that we're already slowing down. If they lost it when they come across in front of us, if we're already slowing down, then we have a better potential for avoiding that collision. So key number five, that's make sure they see you, making sure we're keeping our lights and all of our lights and our reflectors cleaned off. In the wintertime, they can get gummed up with snow and ice, so we want to be conscientious about that and making sure that we're signaling, not just turning the signal on and signaling and going, but making sure that we are signaling to announce and giving people enough time to understand what it is we're planning to do. That, of course, helps them make better decisions around us, again, avoiding collisions. So these kind of techniques of defensive driving are the kind of things that are helping our preventable crash per million miles go down. So get out your study book. Reread through key number one, through key number 2, 3, 4, 5. Take a day each. Study it. Think about how you're applying it. It's through that kind of intensive self-training that we improve our driving skill sets, and our numbers in preventable crashes per million as a company are going to go down. some of the some of the most frequent accidents we're still having is backing. It's above 50% still right now. As much as we've tried this year, and we've tried and tried, it's still above 50%. So the numbers basically are 92 backing accidents last year. Already this year, not counting December, we've already had up to the end of November 109. So we're well over where we want to be on backing incidents. So how do we fix that?
Well, it's just everybody's got to practice what you tell everybody all the time. Get out and look.
Get out and look.
Even if you're 100% sure, get out and look a second time, a third time, a 10th time.
Yep.
You know, just make sure that you're going slow and you're doing what you need to do. I mean, you know, if you do those things, those simple things, I mean, that could eliminate a lot of it.
And
Right.
that takes you 40 minutes to get into a hole. It takes you 100 times getting out looking. Get out and look.
All right. So getting out to look, that's how we fix a lot of the backing incidents. Also making sure that when we get out to look, we're not staying up near the tractor. We're going all the way to the end of the trailer so that we are looking at the space that we have on that blind side as closely as we can, because depth perception can be tricky, especially at night and with weird lighting. We want to make sure that we're really getting eyes on the subject. The other accident that's up is right turns. Right turns are really, really high. Of course, you have a little bit of a deficit when you're turning right at night. It's hard to see what's going on to that right-hand side because of the angles that you've got. So clean mirrors. That's how we're going to avoid a lot of those accidents, is clean your mirrors. If you can see clearly through the mirror, you're less likely to misjudge something like where that pole is or where that curb is. Up this year have been curbed tires where the rim has been destroyed. And that is related directly to not seeing where you're going and making a turn fast enough that you didn't have time to see that you were going to strike. So anytime you're in a situation where you cannot see clearly, or your mirror's dirty, you want to clean off the mirror. And if you can't see clearly, you want to make that turn really slowly and even stop and get out and look. Turn your flashers on if you have to, but get out and look again. I've used my emergency triangles, taken that emergency triangle and put it down on the ground because the reflectiveness of the triangle helped me see where the obstacle was, where from the cab, without the triangle there, I couldn't see it. So use the tools that you have at your disposal to help mark things in those times when you're having difficulty seeing. And we have a question over here.
I was just going to also point out that sometimes the sun glares on the window, might help to roll down.
Okay, so, and your first name again? Jared. I was thinking Jeremy, so I'm glad I didn't jump on that. Jared down there. Jared says that it's glare on the windshields and glare on the glass as well, so rolling down your windows can really be helpful, and he's right. That's a good point, Jared. Jared. Yes.
On one that I found with backing, or even I guess you could do it with your returns too, but I take my flashlight and backing into a spot. If it's a really dark spot, I'll take my flashlight and put it on that line.
Lie it on the line.
I have at least something to kind of help me out. You know, so I guess I could see it where it helped you to get your turns too.
So
that's just one thing I've always done, that if I can't see into a spot, I'll take my flashlight, put it on the ground, and turn it on.
it's wonderful that we should get a comment like this. So what our driver, whose last name is Bright, is saying here is that we should use our flashlight if we're backing into a dark hole, that he typically puts that flashlight down and to shine along the line to mark where the line is, and that helps him keep a better eye on where he's going. So that's a very good point. So all of these things that we can do to help us improve our scores in these areas.
And another thing too, trailers with the pins on the back, make sure you close them before you look back into a hole. Because if you don't, you'll catch somebody's mirror, you'll catch the air.
Oh wait, so the comment we've got going over here is that we want to make sure that our trailer tails are closed up before we back in. That's a company policy. We need to close up those tails before we ever back, no matter what's behind us. We want to close up the tails, and then of course they should be opened up before we leave a parking lot, before we travel, otherwise they can be damaged. So very good stuff there on goal, getting out to look, on on our right turns, and the kind of things that we can do to avoid collisions in those areas. So we've covered a lot of ground, from our great CSA scores to Smith System highlights and backing and turning. Winter driving is a great big concern right now, so I want to make sure that everybody remembers that they need to get out their chains out and actually check them. Make sure that you know what you've got, where they're hung. You've got your bungees, you've got your chain tools, the proper set of gloves, a headlamp type flashlight. It doesn't do any good to have a flashlight you have to hold between your teeth, because if it's dark and you're trying to see what you're doing, that can complicate things. So that headlamp type flashlight, have those tools handy. If you have to chain, having those tools, knowing right where to go for them, that just simplifies the process so much. So winter driving, chaining is always a big concern. I talked to one of our drivers yesterday. He came in, he was absolutely exhausted. He had driven all the way across Oregon on chains, and that is so stressful. You need to make sure that you get your rest after a day like that. Let's not let fatigue get the best of us. Because if you have one day like that and you wake up and you can barely function, then take a break, take some more rest before you go out again, because if the roads are still nasty and you go out there and you're exhausted, you may make a crucial error. So get your rest, especially on those days when you know that you fought a really, really bad day of weather and issues. All right, so it is about time to unleash the big secret. We didn't have any lunch with our driver meeting today because we've decided to try something different. So for every driver that attended the meeting today, gift cards. All right, so these are Walmart gift cards. So we're going to be giving gift cards for every driver who attends the meeting. So the cards get handed out to every driver who is here at the end of the meeting, who signed in and has participated. So everyone here is going to get your gift card today. Now, there's the other thing. We want your input. What kind of gift cards do you want? Do you want Walmart gift cards from now on out? But or would restaurant gift cards or some other type gift card be what you'd like to see here at the driver meetings? They're going to be $10 gift cards for each person that attends from here on out. So we'd like your input as to what gift cards we should be giving out for attending our driver meetings.